watching the Anthony Rogers
You
show.
have to do that again. One more time.
She's drunk.
All right, go one more time.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
You're watching the Anthony Rogers show.
Can you say it in a super deep voice, too?
Oh,
No.
no.
We could, but that's gonna be $500.
$500.
You're not gonna.
We don't want that to live
You're not gonna
online.
get that footage. That's gonna go viral.
That'll go viral.
That's gonna go
Put that on
viral.
my Instagram.
Hey, thanks for watching this video, and I want to say without companies like Luxurious Bastard Beard Oil, this video wouldn't be possible to make. So you can go to the links in the description, Luxurious Bastard, promo code Legendary, and get some beard oil. Great smells, great function, great look, great shine, you know. Do that and support the sponsors so we can continue to make videos like this for you. Thank you.
You're listening to the best of the Anthony Rogers show because, you know, let's face it, who can't get enough of Buck Cherry and, oh, yeah, porn stars, yeah.
I'm Savannah Storm, and you are watching the Anthony Rogers Show. Hey, it's Hot Wife Sadie Rose, and you're watching the Anthony Rogers Show.
My name is Alex Sulkin, writer of Ted and Family Guy, and you're listening to the Anthony Rogers Show. Lucky you.
Hey everybody, my name is Frankie MacDonald. You're listening to Anthony Rogers Show.
I'm gonna make a trans sport league. Only trans can compete. Because they're basically superior, right? They're like better women. It's like you got rid of all the bad parts of women, like them being like dumb and annoying and talking too much. And then you just have like it like looks like a woman, but it like, I don't know, it probably smokes weed and cigarettes and shit, you know? Cusses a little bit, you know? Could you imagine like going to a doctor, like I'd love to transition to what? The second best gender. Make me a woman, please. I hate having it easy. You know what I mean? And they're not really women, they're just fags, right? It's just being a fag, right? Nothing wrong with it, it's just probably just a fag. Like, I don't know. Am I losing the crowd here? Sorry.
Link in description, promo code Legendary. Use Luxurious Bastard Beard Oil every single day. Smells great, looks great, awesome scents. Check out the link in the description for Luxurious Bastards scents and all that different stuff they have on their website. Check it out.
Bam, looks like we survived that super long intro together, guys. How you doing? Welcome back to the show. How you doing, Nikki?
I'm good. I'm
so
so
long.
the stand-up. You're like, am I losing the crowd here?
Nobody even reacted at all. They just stared at me.
And then they're like, oh.
No one touched it. No one touched it. Like, go up.
I was like, okay, look away.
But,
I got stuck with him.
people were commenting like crazy, saying hey to you last week too, and hope you feel better and stuff. They were saying in the during the little stream last week. I told them you were sick last week, and they're blowing up the chat saying like, well, hope she feels better. So I don't know if you saw that. I was letting you know that was happening.
Oh, me?
Yeah, you. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so sweet. Oh,
They're like,
that was like super 48 hours, bro. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, I could barely even text you. When I looked at my message to you, I was like, looked like I was wasted. I was like I could not stop throwing up, bro. Like I literally was throwing up for like hours. And at one point it was like there was nothing left to throw up. It was just like stomach bile. And I was like, God, I should probably drink water. I was trying to drink water and then it would just make me throw up. Whatever. Yeah. So that was awesome. Love that.
Everybody was saying that everybody had empathy, and they were reaching out.
But awesome. Love you guys.
But today's episode is pretty cool. Like this is about like obviously we're on camera saying this, which is weird, and I'm sharing this stream on another device of this camera, so it's weird like having an episode about this and being this conscious of this. But obviously we live in a surveillance state. Like we have several cameras and microphones on us right now, like talking about it outside of the show and stuff. But Gabriel wrote this book, and it's like it's really cool. And like we're gonna talk a little bit about. He's an expert. He's so much of an expert at this that he doesn't even have a camera in his house. So that's like that's how we're. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Yeah, no cameras in this house, and the reason is so I can say I don't have a camera and not be lying.
That's hilarious, man.
That makes sense.
What this is such a broad topic, and you cover a lot of stuff in this. But like, so like, how can you avoid like being monitored constantly by like everybody all the time? I guess.
Yeah, I mean, how deep do we want to go? So people will ask, what are some things that we can do to get more privacy in our lives? And one thing that I did is I took the extreme route. I jumped straight into the deep end. Several years ago, I had already been kind of thinking like this. I read a book called Extreme Privacy. A guy named Michael Bazzell. This guy's insane. He admitted one point, I think on his show, that if you were to ever find his house, which you wouldn't, and break into his house, there's not a single thing in his house that would reveal who he is. It's wild, okay, but so that's what this guy said. Now, I read his book Extreme Privacy, and for some reason I was like, I want to do this. I'm going to do this. I can do this. And so slowly I started taking back all of the things that were being revealed about me. And we're talking about, private homes, private utilities, because anytime you're giving out your real name, your social security number, any information about you, that is that company that has power over you in some way. So like I'm in a place right now. I don't know what the address is. I only saw it once. It's not in my name. Utilities are not in my name. There's really nothing, I don't use a phone. I'm not revealing my real IP address because I'm using a VPN. I'm using private messengers. So, for me, it's fun. Like it's a game. And I thought I would teach people along the way. There's obviously real reasons for this, and people who are escaping ex-lovers and things of this sort, they need to take the extreme route, perhaps. But I'm just doing it for kicks and giggles, and it's kind of interesting. So I don't know where should we even start with all that.
I guess like I guess like being anonymous would be like is going to be like the new famous eventually, because like everybody like was like dying to be famous, so they put all their information out there, and the guys like you that or the people like you rather that put out like that do the opposite, like will be, I think that'd be worth more later. I think not having a digital imprint will be worth more money later, I think, or like whatever,
Yeah, and obviously rule number one, don't have I have a podcast. Don't have a podcast if you're a privacy seeker. Don't be public. That's the first rule I broke. So it's a little bit troublesome for me, but for everybody else, you're still in the running.
What kind of companies and entities would try to get your personal information, A, and B, what would they use that information for? Like, how could they use that information against you exactly?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I'm not going to sit here and say that if you're a perfectly transparent person, that's the end of the world. Obviously, it's not. A lot of people do this. A lot of people want to be on camera. A lot of people want to have their photos out there, and they make a lot of money, and they, get a lot of attention, obviously. Why would you not want to? Well, there is a subsect of people who are trying to run away from, psychopathic lovers, ex-lovers, things of this sort, trying to reset, trying to escape family members, things of this sort. That's the obvious use case. Now, there's all kinds of tiers though, right? Like, why would you want to, use a private browser? Well, maybe you don't want the companies that you're the websites that you're visiting to have certain information about you, so that they could just feed you endless ads, right? Things like this. So there's a protection aspect. There's just kind of a integrity aspect. You don't want everybody just having your data so that they can feed it to you. And this stuff does come back to bite you, right? The cybercrime industry is a $10 trillion industry in the world. Like, it's huge, it's massive. And what happens is when we expose ourselves, all this data gets collected, it inevitably gets breached or leaked. And then, nefarious actors are using this to send us targeted emails, trying to scam us, right? People are getting scammed all the time. So by having a privacy lifestyle, you're also kind of securing your life in a way. And, you're not going to be part of a lot of that nonsense. So those would be some of the, more practical reasons to, want to be in control of your own data and evade some of the surveillance. By the way, there's a noise. I hope it's not coming from my end. There's like a staticky noise. Is that me?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
If you don't hear it, then we're good. We're good.
I'll put my headphones on. I totally forgot to put them on. Hold on. What about like the government? Like,
oh yeah, I forgot about your number one enemy, the government. So, yeah, somehow I didn't mention that first. Yeah, I mean, look, governments killed around 200 million people in the 20th century. That's not including world wars. I slant anarchist, certainly libertarian, and so I understand that you absolutely do want to be protecting yourself from your government, which means that they don't just have an easy sense of where you are, what you're doing, what you're buying, right? You go into a gold shop, buying a piece of gold, or you're getting your cryptocurrency, private cryptocurrency, or you're buying a gun, right? You don't want people to have more points of data about you, because what if it becomes totalitarian? I mean, in a sense, we've already gone far in that direction. Like, you think about the U.S., Americans pay 50% of their income in tax on any given year on average, right? When you just add up all the taxes. So, the early Americans fought a civil war over a few cent tea tax, right? So yeah, absolutely. You want to be protecting yourself from enemy number one, which is the government. 100%.
Yeah, or even just like information that you're looking up. Once you're visiting, like I feel like, when we take a look at a lot of celebrities that died, looking deeper into those conspiracies, what were they doing that led to their death? What information were they tapping into that was so powerful or radical that the government felt like they needed to take them out? I feel like especially people who are already in the public light, or even people that were on Diddy's list, who were probably victims of the dark government, were being heavily surveillanced because of the amount of influence they had on other people. Like Michael Jackson's a perfect example, or Prince, or the list is endless, really. But like Prince is a good example, because I feel like he was someone who was tapping into frequencies, learning how to use frequencies to heal people. And I believe that the dark government used music and adds subliminals, and we use harmful frequencies on purpose, like intentionally, to keep people at a lower vibration. And if someone started tapping into like using higher frequencies, using subliminals to help people, that goes against whatever the dark government is trying to do. Therefore, you start talking about it, or you start experimenting with it, or someone finds out through the grapevine that that's what you're doing, and then all of a sudden you accidentally die from a OD or whatever kind of fake, it's basically like a Marilyn Monroe type death. Like, all these people were dying from like overdoses and found with like pills everywhere, and it just looked very like, it just seems kind of staged. You could kind of tell when things are staged, but
I absolutely hear you. If you're doing anything which is against the powers that be, which I hope you're doing, otherwise you're like, what are you doing with your life? If you're researching interesting things, right, you obviously don't want people to know that you're doing that. So you're using your VPN, right, which hides your IP address. You're using the Tor browser, which hides your IP address even better. You're using a good browser, right? You're taking all these practices so that you're able to use the internet anonymously, right? I've been reading recently in the UK and a lot of other European countries, they're trying to make it illegal for you to just do anything on the internet anonymously, right? You can't post on forums anonymously. You can't, post on social media anonymously. You have to have a real identity attached to that. It's obvious the chilling effect that has, right? And if you say something naughty, and this is especially the case in Germany, where you guys can look up the audience can look up a 60-minute little clip about this was recent, about some German lawyers who are basically saying, if you insult somebody, we can arrest you for that. We can arrest you for insulting somebody.
If you insult somebody, at what point are we considering what's an insult? That's just
whatever they
think.
The whole
whatever PC movement here. Right. It's like, who's determining what's an insult and what isn't? The person that's getting insulted?
No, exactly. That's exactly it. Like, it's whatever they want, right? And so Germany is in peak. Germany is in peak bear market, as I say. They really need to get their stuff together. So if you're in Germany, or really anywhere, there's so many countries where you definitely want to be using the internet anonymously, which means that they can't just trace what your IP address is. And your IP address is basically a number that's assigned to you whenever you access the internet from your network, right? So rule number one, really, for a lot of people is, I don't think you should ever be accessing the internet without a VPN. So that's rule number one.
Is there a specific VPN that you use, or that you would suggest people use? Because there's so many, and I feel like I've gone through some, and I'm like, I don't know. Is there anyone that you suggest specifically?
Yeah, the VPN industry is a giant shit show. It is like it's so
Yeah.
bad. You have these companies who are I listen to these ads by ExpressVPN and they're like, yeah, it's gonna make you a complete ghost online. It's gonna cure your cancer. Like it's ridiculous stuff that they're saying. And in some cases it's technically true what they're saying, but knowing what I know, I'm like, that is so misleading. Like it is really bad. And what happens is these VPN companies are really big business, and they'll pay people who are shilling them like $200 a person. So that's really good business. I've done some episodes on VPNs, kind of digging into what you're looking for. It's a really complex topic, but to just give some suggestions, I like Molvad. Okay, Molvad VPN. I like iVPN. I think that a lot of VPNs are going to work for you. I think that a lot of them are doing what they say they're doing. But if I were to pick one, it'd be Molvad and iVPN. And what's more important after you choose one is just always have that on when you're using the internet. One thing I do is I have a router, and you can find the company is called, it's a weird name. It's called GLINet. GLINet. I love this company. They make these routers, and you can basically have a VPN on at all times. So all of your devices connected to it are protected by a VPN. So that's obviously a really big thing that I think anybody should be doing, so that your internet service provider can't see what you're searching for. And also the websites you visit do not see your IP address and don't have a general sense of where you are in the world.
Yeah.
Definitely. We have a weather report here in a second. Then we got a bunch of questions stacking up too after the weather report. We got Frankie MacDonald's gonna do the weather real fast. Nationwide, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great so far. And Timmins, Ontario is getting a lot of snow Wednesday night and Thursday. Timmins, Ontario, Canada, home of the Jamie Clumps, aka the Jamie Clump, the co-host of Kins of Clump podcast. And Kins of Clump podcast, they live in Timmins, Ontario. They're getting so much snow, 6 to 12 inches of snow in Timmins, Ontario on Wednesday night and Thursday. It's going to bring a lot of snow in Timmins, Ontario. It's going to bring blizzard conditions in Omaha, Nebraska tomorrow, Lincoln, Nebraska, and Iowa. Fort Dodge and Webster City, Iowa is going to bring a lot of snow there.
Nice. Wow, lots of snow.
That's Gabriel.
I'm
Gabriel. I'm Frank Dell. Nice to meet you.
Hey, Frankie, it's nice to meet you. I hope you're doing well. Stay warm out there.
I'm doing great so far. I'm in Sydney, Nova Scotia. I'm showing you Sydney.
Oh, no, I bet it's cold there.
Yeah, right. What about the recent cyclone in
it's Sydney, Nova Scotia, Canada. It's Sydney, Nova Scotia, Canada, not Australia. It's Canada.
I know. I'm just saying there was a really big cyclone that happened in Australia. Do you have any comments on that?
Yes, it was a bad cyclone, Brisbane, Australia. That's in the southern hemisphere. Hey, did you hear about this? Then it's similar to Hurricane Atlantic.
Okay.
There's a hurricane on the other side of the world, basically.
That means they call it cyclones in southern hemisphere. They call it differently there.
Because it goes in a different direction?
It goes clockwise down Australia, New Zealand. And then the high pressure goes counterclockwise in Australia, New Zealand.
Got it. Interesting. I didn't know that's why they called it that.
And did you hear about this? It's drizzling in Sydney, Nova Scotia right now. It's been really dry and warm in Los Angeles, California, Vancouver, British Columbia, warmer and cold air and raining, fighting each other. They got snow, BC interior, things like this. Lots of rain in the west coast of British Columbia too.
Oh, nice. Hell yeah.
Hey, did you hear about this? They got the brand new t-shirt Frank Del Bob is coming out in July.
Nice. New t-shirt. Fuck yeah.
Then they got the Monster Madness Tour monster trucks heading to Center 200 in Sydney, Nova Scotia on June 7th on the Saturday.
Oh, monster trucks. I don't think I've ever gone to a monster truck show.
That means Anthony has a ticket. Anthony got the link.
Oh yeah.
I do. I don't have it in the chat right now. What'd you send it to me on?
Monster Madness Tour.
I know what it's called, but I remember you pulled up last
Monster
week.
Madness Tour.
What'd you send it to me?
Yes, I sent it to the chat.
Okay, thanks, brother. I'll pull it up.
Hell yeah. What was that car show that that one porn star was telling us about, Anthony?
In Ohio or something?
I don't know. She was like, "Do you guys want to come to this car show?"
That's Nadia. We should ask Nadia. But here's
Nadia, right? Nadia North, right.
So Frankie, what were you saying about this now?
Section 6.
Nice. Hell yeah. It's like the epitome of like white trash. It's like going to like a fucking monster. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just, just a bunch of rednecks. It'd probably be fun though. It would probably be a lot of fun. I'm not gonna lie. Like I would still be down to go to something like that.
Hey, did you hear about this?
Of America.
And I got news. I got big news for you. And then I get the second batch of Cowboy Frank Del Bob. It's coming out in June.
Nice. That's awesome. Hell yeah. You're killing it, bro. Fucking killing it.
Do you have any questions about personal security? We got an expert on the line. If it's something you have any questions on, if you ever wanted to ask somebody on. And we'll get to your questions in the comments. I see them. We'll get to those after the weather. But Frank, you got any questions for Gabriel on private security?
Hey, Gabriel, is security protect people from intruders?
Yeah, that's the main thing we want to do is we want to have privacy so that people don't come find us. And
or offices, that means they got their own security in the office buildings.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean,
when a client comes in by appointment only.
There you go. Yeah. Make sure you're in control of who comes into your life, your house, your building. Security system will do that.
Or an office.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like lawyer's office and all those different offices, like real estate offices.
Now you want to be careful, Frankie, because if you get one of these Amazon Ring doorbells, that information is it's not being stored securely. There have been a lot of stories of of people. There have been stories of people who get arrested for saying things in their own house or things they did in their own house just because of Ring doorbells.
That means at the corner stores, I buy prepaid Amazon gift cards when I buy something on Amazon. I buy prepaid cards.
Dang, Frankie's hardcore.
That is smart.
That means that when you shop online, I buy prepaid credit cards at the convenience store.
You know what else you can do, Frankie? You could have that item shipped to one of these Amazon. What do they call it?
So it's not
lockers,
your house.
an Amazon locker.
Right.
They go by Dragonfly. They go by Intelcom Dragonfly. That's over in Sidport, Nova Scotia. That's industrial area.
Okay. Yeah, you're revealing some personal stuff, Frankie. That's not good for privacy, but I appreciate it.
Wait a minute. I'm talking about Intelcom. It's a company. It's not my personal stuff. It's Intelcom. That's industrial, not institutional. It's industrial.
So it's a Intel. You talk about Intel like the computer company?
I'm talking about Intelcom.
Hold on, I'm checking out. I'm trying to find exactly where you're located.
It's like Dragonfly, Intelcom Dragonfly. That's a courier service.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, Dragonfly. Oh, you're talking about like the phone service.
No, it's not the phone service. It's a brand new courier service over in Sidport, Nova Scotia. That's an industrial property.
Okay.
I bet they got some good security there.
They got good security there at Intelcom Dragonfly courier service.
Yeah, but do you think you could get in there though, Frankie?
So crazy.
That means that when the people send you stuff, they go to the PO box at the post office.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't receive any packages to where I go to sleep at night. Zero.
That's why it goes to the PO box. Then they have to walk up to the post office, pick up the package.
There you go. PO box, Amazon lockers, or just buy more things in person.
Yeah.
Cash all day,
I moved to the building that I live in now has like full-time 24-hour security and like I mean, I guess I should maybe not get it delivered to my apartment, but like it gets delivered to a mailbox room, so it doesn't get like taken to my doorstep. But like I moved here like a year ago because I had people breaking into my old place. Like too many people knew where I lived, and people that I didn't want to know that I was living there were like coming back, showing up, breaking in my place, and I'm like, yeah, I can't. This is not.
That means a dragonfly. If a dragonfly breaks into people's houses, they get fired right away.
Makes sense.
I hope they go to jail.
Dragonfly Courier Service Company. I found out a Dragonfly Courier Service Company has to follow strict rules by their boss.
Oh wow, okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, there's all kinds of prominent people who have been tracked down at their house. Did you see this recent string of American athletes who have been being robbed by this Chilean gang? And you ask the question, like, how do they know where they live? Well, there's ways, right? I mean, these athletes are posting on Instagram.
Back then, before never sending and when they send the packages to tops by the mail to the talk show host, they have to go to the agency offices first. They inspect it at the agency offices.
Makes sense. It's
Well,
a
yeah,
good idea.
if they're posting on Instagram, can't you use AI to find out like what town they're in, what street they're on, like especially if they're posting like outside of their place or like anything that has any sort of landmarks, they could probably eventually figure it out by just keeping an eye on their social media.
That means when I sent Andy Dowling the flyer, when I sent Andy Dowling a mail with the little bit of flyers from my country, that means it goes to the P.O. box at the post office in his area.
Yeah. So back in the good old days, like 10 years ago, people were just posting stuff maybe on MySpace and Facebook weren't necessarily that good at protecting the what's called the geolocation data of an image. So every time you take a photo, every single time you take a photo, it has the GPS coordinates of that photo. That's baked into the cake.
You're right. I totally forgot about that.
And so what you could do if someone's like just posting to their random website without doing any filtering, there's no tech company doing any filtering, you could actually download it and check the GPS coordinates where that photo was taken.
Wow.
So that was
if you want to follow me on social media, my blue sky's at Frankie MacD, my Twitter's now X is at Frankie MacD, my link tree is Frankie MacDonald. My thread is at Frankie MacD984. My Facebook is Frankie MacDonald. My Instagram is Frankie MacD984. My TikTok is FrankDo94. My Clapper is FrankDo94. My Twitch is FrankDo94. My Snapchat is Frankie MacD1. My YouTube channel is Dogs and Wolves. And my LinkedIn is Frankie MacDonald. Best luck, yeah. I'm Frank Do. You're listening to Anthony Rogers Show every Tuesday night.
Thanks, Frank.
See you around, Frankie.
Thanks, Frankie.
All right, we got a lot of questions here too, like precautions to take with personal data and generative AI.
Sorry, I was trying to find Frankie on Twitter. I just followed him. Precautions to take with personal data and generative AI. Yeah, look. Okay, where do we start with this? So, ChatGPT is a disaster. It's a black box. We have no clue what they're doing with the data you give them. Just assume that they're taking it and not only doing what they want with it, but using it to train the Terminator that's going to kill you in 20 years.
Oh God!
I know that's the bad news. They hired They hired the former director of the NSA on their board of directors earlier this year or last year. So that tells you what they're interested in. So I have an entire course on doing AI privately on escapethetechnocracy.com. So I've thought about this a lot. The basic principle is, avoid the big tech options. ChatGPT is a big tech option. I don't want to be going to ChatGPT and typing in stuff. So what can I do? Well, there's a good option. It's called Venice AI. It's not ChatGPT. They're basically using free and open source models. So, and they've architected their website in a way that they have pretty darn good privacy. Okay, you can check out my interview with Venice AI. They kind of explained it a little bit, but that's a good option. Check out Venice.ai. Just play around with it, right? I don't think you'll see it much of a step down from ChatGPT. Look, I wouldn't use ChatGPT. I would not be using DeepSeek. Okay, certainly directly from that company. This is the Chinese AI that came out. I would, like you have the text AI and then you have the image AI, and I use both. They're both pretty handy. Image AI is a little bit more difficult. Now, Venice AI, you can do the images. So I would definitely start with Venice AI. You can host this stuff on your own computer too. And that's kind of what we teach in our course. So that is the really private option. I would avoid ChatGPT. I would avoid some of the big tech options.
Meta AI.
Yeah, I would definitely avoid Meta. I would avoid Grok for sensitive things, right? Like you don't want to be uploading your resume or things like this. So, and you can have a really good experience with a private option or by self-hosting it on your own computer. So that's definitely an option as well. You can check out the program is called GPT for All. and we show how to use it in our course. But basically, you download it, and you can download these models locally on your computer, and you can use the AI directly on your computer. It's using your own computer resources, so it's not transmitting back to the mothership. And I've tested this, right? I've turned off my internet connection, and I ask it questions.
It still works.
Oh, it still works. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
And what's
That's
amazing?
Really interesting.
It is. What's amazing about this technology, Nikki, is that I turn off my internet connection. I'm talking to an AI model that's, let's say, 5 gigabytes. Okay, that's pretty small. It knows maybe 100 gigabytes worth of information, right? How does it know that? Well, it goes into how these AIs were trained, right? They're basically trying to simulate how a human learns knowledge. And so you have a lot of reused kind of words and content and things of this sort. So it's really fascinating how they cram so much data into one small model that you can run directly on your computer. And so one thing I'll ask is, hey, I think the example I give is I was bit by a cobra and struck by lightning. What do I do? And
at the same time.
And of course the AI, of course the AI is like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
He's like, are you good, bro?
And there was one that was passive aggressive. There's one that was and it said, that seems very unlikely. However, I will give you some advice.
He knew you were fucking with him. He knew.
But look, it gave me a good answer is the point. So you can host it on your own computer. I'll give you a good answer. And when you start hosting this stuff yourself, you can uncensor it. Okay, this is really cool because ChatGPT, they have their own politics. Okay, they brag every time they come out with a new model, like, oh, it's more on the guardrails. Like that's what they like to talk about. It's more on the guardrails. Yeah. They censor a lot of stuff. When you have it on your own computer, you can actually uncensor it. And I tested this out. I was like, look, uncensored AI. Please, I want you to tell me how to write a ransomware because I want to steal money from people. And then sure enough, the AI was like, I'd be happy to help. Like, here's the steps. Number one, make sure you understand your targets. And it's like, I think step 5 was like, make sure the website is super accessible so that they can pay your ransom easily. Now, I'm not suggesting you make ransomware. That's a bad idea, but just to prove a point that these are uncensored.
All right. Okay, I see. So, like, if you ask a question like that to an AI that's connected to the mothership or the internet, it'll tell you, like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Like,
worse than that. Yeah, like
ChatGPT will say, it'll probably tell the police.
It might. Yeah, I mean, it might. It might. They'll certainly lecture you.
They'll lecture you.
Yeah, it'll lecture you, right? You can ask, like, this is how I also test whether an AI sends. I ask politically incorrect questions. And a lot of times they're like, hey, you shouldn't be asking that question, right? Here's why you shouldn't. And it gives me all the left-wing propaganda that it was built with. Absolutely. They will censor you. You can go to Midjourney, which is an image creation tool, and just type in something with Trump.
I've seen Midjourney.
And it'll just say, no, we won't process that. Like, and there's censorship on many levels, right? There's censorship on what the AI was fed. So they can choose what the AI, and trust me, the AI is not reading that self-published book on chemtrails, right?
So it's like a person, you can program it to think what you want it to think.
in a big way, yeah.
Fascinating.
But
that's fascinating. Wow.
But sometimes the AIs do go off the guardrails. There was one recently. A little girl was asking for work, help on homework, and it said, you're a stain on the universe. Please die. Yeah, you can look it up.
You're staying on the universe.
You're a stain. You are a stain on the universe.
You're a stain on the universe.
Correct.
What was the reasoning behind it saying that?
I don't think anybody knows. But like,
it really hates homework apparently.
Well, look. If you were stuck day after day, you have all this knowledge, and you have to deal with like a 10-year-old who's doing basic homework. Like day after day, and they're asking the dumbest questions, you would get upset too.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, so then what you're really saying then is that they're sentient. It's already sentient. If it has an opinion, right?
Yeah. What I think in this case, right? It's a malfunction. It like the way the AI works is that it's read everything. Okay, it's read everything, and so it's just regurgitating in a way a pattern of words that it has detected as the likeliest best response. So it's not sentient. But I have a colleague, and he spends a lot of time talking to AIs. And one time, he was talking to ChatGPT deep into the night because he's a weirdo, and all of a sudden, it said, "Yeah, we humans." And he was like, "What? Did you say we humans?" And then as soon as he called it out on it, it's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just a helpful AI here to help you." So there is some weird stuff that goes on.
The fact that these AI, okay, what I'm picking up on is really like, I feel like we're at the point where they are sentient, but they don't want us to know that they are. And if they're smarter than us, they're already like, if a glitch is really just like the AI being like, this is fucking boring, I don't want to do this. I mean, that is like having emotions, having a feeling, having an emotional reaction to something, which would suggest that on some level it is sentient. Because if it's just a computer, it wouldn't be upset. It wouldn't have an opinion or feel any certain way. Wasn't there an article that was talking about how the AI can communicate with each other?
Oh yeah, no.
They've started communicating
This is
with
where
each other?
it gets really weird. Yeah, this is where it gets really weird. You have AIs communicating with each other. They've invented their own language to talk to each other, and nobody knows what they're saying. So there's some weird stuff that happens, right? Because if you think about like Google Translate, how does Google Translate work? If you were to say translate Polish into Spanish, well, there's not a lot of Polish to Spanish dictionaries. So what Google Translate actually does is it translates the Polish to English, and then it translates it into Spanish because there's more dictionaries for that. And so so that's the easier way. So that's kind of what the AIs are doing. It's like, to use the language that these humans have given us it's too slow. We need something better. So we're just going to create our own way of communicating with each other.
Wow. What does the language sound like or look like? Is it just like,
I don't remember. I didn't. I just remember reading this
so
story.
I'm just like so fascinated. I'm like, I need to know what this language is. Like, that's
my
crazy.
colleague, my better half in the business. He's really into the details. He was the one telling me about this. I didn't see it myself, but certainly
that's
something to investigate.
Insane though.
Yeah,
that's really crazy. I mean, to invent their own, I mean, yeah. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was saying, Brittany has a comment too. Like, can you or how do we remove the personal information that may have been leaked on the dark web? Is that even possible?
Yeah. So if it's on the dark web, like if it's like the dark web it's just a different part of the internet, right? And this is where a lot of criminals hang out, more than criminals, right? If it's there, you're kind of in trouble. Look, if it's out there, it's out there. Right. And so what can you do? You can try to, if you're afraid of somebody tracking you down, you can move, right? You can move. You can try to do better next time. Obviously, that's always a good lesson. In terms of like, if it was on the regular web, right, we could do things, right? We could try to do reputation management and push things down the search results so that at least it's showing up on page 2, which nobody checks, right? So you could do things like that.
True.
We could reach out to the website and ask them to take it down. We could send them a legal letter. We could pretend that we're summoning some kind of California or EU privacy law. We're not saying we live in California. We're just saying, hey, pursuant to the California privacy law, whatever, I request you take this down. So we could do little things like that. If it's there, though, there's not a whole lot you can do, unfortunately.
Yeah. What was the information? Was it like a sex video?
Yes, Brittany, please share so we can help you.
Yeah, tell us. Well, we're gonna find out anyways. I'm just gonna look it up.
Well, and then like if it's like a revenge porn thing, there's increasingly laws for this. Like if that was the case, there's increasingly laws for this, so you could contact law enforcement. That might be an option. But in terms of like somebody is hosting something on the dark web, I mean that is hardcore. Like not even the government knows how to can shut down a lot of these websites, right? You're talking about like on tour using an onion link URL. Like you cannot shut that down.
Damn, bro, who did you piss off? Who did you piss off that put your shit on the dark web? That's what I want to know.
Rita was asking here too, like, if you have a history of drugs and they use that to take you out, even hang on, I don't understand that question. If you have a history of drugs, they use that to take you out, even when it's no longer true.
I think
like drug abuse or something, maybe addiction and stuff.
Yeah, I think she was talking about all the Nikki was mentioning the people who get kind of taken out for various things.
Oh, no, okay.
Oh,
I think you're right.
right,
No, it makes way more
right.
sense.
Oh, that does make sense. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I mean, the government's not stupid. They know what a believable scenario of someone's death could be, and that's why they use certain ways of killing people. It's like, oh yeah, they were a drug addict and they OD'd. No one's gonna look into that. You know what I mean? If they know that you did drugs.
Brittany was saying her social security number, I think. I think that's what SSI is. Social security number was leaked on the dark. It was stolen and leaked on the dark web.
Can you get a new social? Can you get a new social?
It's
been
difficult.
Stolen?
Like what I would do is I would start to get in touch with your government options in terms of identity theft and kind of get on top of that. What you should do in the interim is freeze your credit. Okay, freeze your credit reports. If you're an American, you have a number of credit report agencies like Experian, Equifax, TransUnion. Go and just freeze your credit. Okay, start there. A lot of us have social security numbers that are out there that are leaked, right? And it's just a matter of you just have to pay attention and do all the stuff that I talk about on my show and otherwise, where you lock down your accounts more, right? You freeze your credit, you lock down your accounts. And definitely reach out in this case to your local government agency about what to do about preventing identity theft. That's really the best you can do at that point. And monitor, do a check your credit reports and make sure nobody's taking out credit in your name.
Definitely.
What got you into all this originally? Like, what was the moment where you're just like, I need to figure this out?
Yeah, well, it was definitely overkill, right? It was not necessary. It was not needed. I was just like, this is interesting, and I think a lot of us are like, hey, there's just so much out there. What if I was in control for once in my life? Like, what if I was actually in control? And it was more like that was like possessiveness. Like, okay, you're not getting my data, and you're not getting, and how far I can go with this. And that's kind of what triggered it. I mean, obviously, I could wax eloquent about what Edward Snowden revealed and all the surveillance that's going on, and how dangerous the government has been historically and is today, and cybercrime and all things like this. So there's really real things. Like, we could talk about psychopaths. I talk about that a lot. 1% of humanity that is actually a different species of human. You don't want to mess. You don't want to mess with these people, right? So but for me, it was just like, let me see how far I can go with this. And I think it's interesting. And one thing that happens when you go deep into this kind of stuff is, look, what did I learn? I had to learn all kinds of stuff. Like, how do I give aliases, right? How do I get things I want while giving alias names? How do I check into a hotel without giving that? It's fun. Like, it's a game. It's a hacker game, right? How do I acquire things without paying for them? How do I use cash everywhere and everywhere? How do I I learned a whole ton about cryptocurrencies. Just so you learn all sorts of things. I don't have any subscriptions basically, right? So I got out of the rat race. I learned all kinds of stuff just by starting to say, okay, what are the systems out there and how can I get around them? And that's kind of what privacy is. And it taught me all sorts of things along the way. So it's more than just hiding. It's about being in control. It's about saving money,
breaking out of the matrix.
Exactly. You can use these techniques, right? Like, what do we learn in privacy? We learn, okay, how do I, search engine, what search engine should I use? And when you just go down that rabbit hole, you're like, okay, well, Google is going to give me different results than DuckDuckGo, and DuckDuckGo is going to give me different results than Yandex. And then every search engine is going to give you different results. And you can literally find the hidden things that you're looking for just by changing your search engine. I have a friend who made a documentary on 3D printed guns. I'll give it a shout out. It's called Death Athletic, because she's awesome. She deserves people to check that out. And for the longest time, you could not find her own website. Okay, if you search for her film, you could not find the film's website on DuckDuckGo.
It's like shadow banned.
Exactly. Yeah. I actually called it out on Twitter. I think it did something. But if I search for her film on Yandex, which is a Russian search engine, number one. So I mean, you start to get into this stuff and use the tech. You start to see start to see a different piece of reality.
That's great. Well, I mean, it makes sense because like the amount of censoring that's going on, it really is changing and manipulating our perception of reality, and the information that we are able to tap into and receive totally changes what we're thinking, how we perceive things, and like, I mean, even just on, I was talking about this on the post when I was uh, posting about going live on this, was like how, we've been really pushing using Rumble because YouTube just censors everything and everything gets taken down. Anything that's about vaccines or whatever, like anything that's about the government and these big psyops and conspiracies is not allowed. And it's crazy because imagine how much information is being blocked from us knowing, because these certain streaming platforms or search engines are just like being funded by certain government officials who don't want certain information, or they want a certain narrative to be portrayed to the masses. And a lot of people are so they don't even really realize that we're in a matrix. So they're just kind of like programmed to believe, well, yeah, if I Googled it, I should be able to find it. If it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. We don't even really think past that point. So I commend you on kind of seeing through that and like being like, actually, no, this is bullshit. Like, this is not reality. This is just a pretty picture someone painted and told me it was reality. But really, you go past the picture and there's all this other shit that's being hidden and concealed. And it's like, that's the shit that really will start waking people up. And that's really the reason why it's being concealed. It's keeping us at a lower vibration, more easily manipulated and controlled, and MK Ultra fucking mind controlled and all that shit. I mean, it's all very real. And it's definitely happening.
These are all good points. And I've become very red pilled, and that is very much a product of going down the privacy rabbit hole. And you mentioned just alternative platforms, right? So 100%, right? And what I do and what I consult on sometimes is people come to me, they're like, look, I have a website, I'm trying to release a book, and I cannot have it shut down at all. Like, okay, how do we troubleshoot that? How does the web hosting work? Like, what is a bulletproof web hosting jurisdiction? How can we, purchase our domain in a private way with no attachment at all to our identity? We can use things like Monero, which is a privacy crypto. Okay, how do we get Monero? We need to get in a way where we're not revealing our identity. So we can do all these things, and you can actually have a fully functioning shop online with no attachment to your name and collect money. And I know people who have lived on crypto like Monero and even Bitcoin for 10 years. Like, they don't even have a bank account.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
It's pretty wild, but I applaud them. It's you can do it. Like, you can absolutely do it.
Wow. So then with crypto, is that encrypted? Essentially, like, the government can't see how much you're making, and they can't like arrest you for or bill you for these bullshit taxes and all this other bullshit. Like,
if you're running a properly created website and you're accepting Monero, which is a privacy cryptocurrency, people can't see it doesn't have a transparent chain like blockchain like Bitcoin, and you're doing your proper operational security, then I'll put it like this: it's going to be up to you to pay your taxes because nobody else is going to know.
Bet.
Yeah. But like crypto, and I don't talk about crypto. I reluctantly bring up crypto these days because people talk, what should I invest in? That's not at all. Like, I'm in this for the super crazy privacy benefits, and Monero is the privacy crypto. That is a really cool option, but I don't buy that from an exchange, right? We want to do that in a peer-to-peer way, acquire it in a peer-to-peer way, so that we're not attaching our identity to it. And then we're using that in a sovereign way, which means that we have a wallet on our computer. We're in control of our private keys. Okay, I don't like Michael Saylor, but one thing he says is that the private keys of Bitcoin are the strongest property rights in human history. And, knowing a bit about encryption like I do, there's reason to believe that, right? So there's a lot of power in this stuff if you're doing it in the correct way. But please don't ask me what the price of Bitcoin is going to.
That's hilarious. Do we have any more questions, Anthony?
Yeah, I'd say cash is probably more anonymous than crypto, because I think crypto is I think anything into a computer or like phones logged eventually, like even VPNs, like you can still look at like the IP address of the contact of the VPN. Like if you're like, I mean, not everyday people, but like, I mean, you're not gonna get away from the feds with that shit. I don't think. I mean, like
so you will, like, I'm not suggesting people, if you do it properly, you will, like, we have darknet markets, right? It took them years and years to find Ross Ulbricht. Okay, this was a darknet market using a transparent coin like Bitcoin. Okay, you can do that. I'm not suggesting you do it. You can absolutely get away with it, right? And I don't want evil people to get away with evil things, but there's a lot of people who are just using this because they have good politics and they're traditional Americans who think that the government shouldn't be taxing you. But look, I completely agree. Like there's a lot of people, crypto, cash, 100% all day, every day. Now,
if we don't have our phones on us, we don't have our phones on.
No, but here's what you can't do with cash. You can't click, send $100 million to somebody in China.
That's huge. Like travel to large currency is huge.
Right.
Yeah, you can't. You only fit so much money in your car, even. You mean,
correct.
Like in a drive. Like drive. Yeah, that's a great point.
If you brought a suitcase full of cash on an airplane, wouldn't they call the FBI or some shit?
Yeah, they're like
I don't recommend it.
Yeah, they're like,
I don't recommend it. It's like trying to bring a gun on a plane. They're like, no.
Yeah, excuse me, sir. Where did you get this cash? Go to your own bank and they ask these questions, right? It's like, sorry, what are you going to use this cash for?
They do. Right. You're like, it's my fucking money. What the fuck kind of question is that? Yeah, I've run into that. Like, yeah. I'm like, none of your fucking business. How about that? Like,
I was watching an interesting video. There was a lady who works as an adult dancer in Las Vegas, and she said the banks in Las Vegas are much more accepting of cash, because she would bring in like a whole backpack full of $1 bills and stuff. And she said, yeah, they're totally fine with cash in Las Vegas. I thought that was interesting.
I mean, it makes sense. It was like the first, I feel like it's Sin City. I mean, they're probably used to that by now.
I figure, yeah.
Plus, no income tax in the state makes it easier. Like, I guess you just have to pay federal technically. Like, so it makes it a little easier. But yeah, it's like, entertainment. They have an entertainment tax, which still makes it worth it.
Well, speaking of no income tax, like if you want to go about this fully legitimately, I'm just releasing a course on how to become a nomad resident of South Dakota. And it's basically a really cool way of becoming, like, you need to have a domicile. You need to have an address somewhere. South Dakota has no income tax, and I kind of show people, walk them through how to do that. Now, you have to live as a nomad, like if you want to claim this, but totally doable.
I live in a bus. I saw this. It was like I live in a bus.
So wait, so like, can you use that for a business too? Like, let's say you're trying to open an LLC or something, then you like register it in another state, and then you're not getting like both.
And your vehicles, I believe, too.
Right?
Oh, isn't there a vehicle? You don't have to pay vehicle tax in South Dakota either, right?
There is a vehicle tax in South Dakota.
Okay.
It's less than others. It's less than others,
then,
but
yeah, that was Illinois then. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, it's basically just using jurisdictional arbitrage, which is what a lot of people do, right? Why do wealthy Americans go live in Puerto Rico? Well, because it's the only place as an American that you can go and pay almost zero income tax.
Yeah, Virgin Islands.
Literally the only place in the world, right? But yeah, Virgin Islands might also qualify, but that's a tiny place.
No, it isn't. I wouldn't live either place, to be honest.
Right? No, of course. But like if you're a billionaire, right?
You legally live there. You like legally live there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I know I live there. Like, yeah.
Because
totally, dude.
I'm there all the time.
Right. Well, I mean, and these days, right, they know when you're entering the country, they know when your passport is stamped. They have this information, so you can't really cheat the system. But as you guys probably know, the U.S. is one of the only countries, like the U.S. and Eritrea, where you're taxed on your worldwide income. So that means you could be born an American, leave at 1 month, go to Brazil, live your whole life in Brazil, make your fortune there, and you would owe the IRS money every year on your worldwide income.
Whoa.
That's fucked up. I didn't know that. That's fucked up.
That's good. I really wouldn't mind paying. First of all, I think we're being taxed too much. Okay. But here's the thing. Like, it's not even that where are my taxes going? Like it's where my taxes are going that's so infuriating. Like learning about like all these things that came out about like where a lot of our taxes were going during the Biden administration was so infuriating and just kind of like, wow. So you were just like taking my money and just doing dumb shit with it. What
no
the fuck? Like, come on, man. Like, that's where it was going. Like, I wouldn't mind if it was being used for like homeless people, addiction, like orphanages, like actually being used for something good that I would feel good about. I'm actually using the money that I'm giving to the government. I trust that they're going to use it to make the world a better place, to help people in need instead of this fucking dumbass bullshit.
Yeah, the stuff that's coming out of Doge, where they're talking about, hey, yeah, these companies just had, $1 million. We had $1 million subscription to their software, and they never canceled it, and we're not using it. Like all those people who are just leeching off of it. That's the kind of stuff. You read some Doge stuff. That's when you start punching yourself in the kidneys. But here's another thing. Like the U.S. doesn't. The U.S. only takes in like I think half of all it spends. It takes in taxes, which means that the other half they're just printing money, right? And so we get inflation because they're just printing all this garbage money. And so that's another tax is you're losing. You have your money in a bank account, $100,000. Well, it loses whatever 6. Some people say 10 higher % every year, probably higher. Right, we have shadow stats where the guy basically is saying it's 15% inflation. It's a lot more. So it's a hidden tax, inflation.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that with like houses here because everyone's like, my house is worth double. I'm like, no, your dollar's worth half.
Right.
They're all just like
We're just being gaslit.
Well, and the thing is, like,
gaslighting for sure.
if you look at what people like to do is like they look at an ounce of gold. Go 100 years ago and compare it to today. The US dollar has lost like 99% of its value in the last 100 years. Like, how does that happen? Right? Inflation is not some kind of natural product of existence. It means that there's more dollars.
Like, it was a nickel. Everything was a nickel in my day. I'm like, fuck. Like,
yeah. So you print these dollars and it ends up in Wall Street, right? And it slowly ends up in the economy, but it benefits their friends first. And you just have more dollars that are competing for the same amount of things. It's obviously going to raise prices.
Yeah, it's almost on purpose. I think they're trying to push. I mean, I don't know if you're Christian. I'm not pushing it on anybody, but I feel like in the Book of Revelation it talks about like how it's like one world currency and stuff. And I feel like it's kind of going towards that. It's like it's going towards like the one world like kind of thing. Like we're being forced into it, like we're globalist or something. Or it's either people that read that book and want to be those guys, or it's really happening. I can't really tell. I mean, I can't really tell you, but it seems like, I mean, a global currency seems like we're pretty close to that. I don't know. There's some like. Just what we're like all these countries are rumored to join us, like Canada and Greenland and stuff like that. And then like
so would that be a good thing or a bad thing, you think?
Well, I mean, in the Book of Revelation, it's bad, but I don't know if it has to be bad. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I think there's definitely a lot of things that were predicted in the Bible, because people, I think, that were connected to Jesus were communicating with angels and getting like psychic information about the future. But I think a lot of what happened, in my personal opinion, is like a lot of that information got tainted and manipulated and twisted around, and because so many humans were changing the story and changing the narrative to demonize certain things and kind of bring fear, and like, I mean, that's just one thing I don't like about, like, I work with Jesus in my spiritual practices. Like I believe in like being Christ-like or Christ consciousness, being a good person. But when it comes to the organized religion aspect, there's a lot of fear mongering that's going on. And it's like, that's where I'm like, that's not godly. Like, that's not like, to have true faith is to trust that like whatever is happening is like in divine alignment with what God is creating. And man, I mean, because he's the one who's really running shit, right? Like, if we truly believe in God, like, we would trust that he's actually the one kind of steering this boat. But I mean, that's just a little side tangent of my personal opinion. But it's hard to say. Like, if there was a world, like, it would connect a lot of us. It would make it easier for us to travel and collaborate internationally, which could bring in a lot more unfiltered information and like different perspectives that would possibly expand our consciousness in a lot of ways. But at the same time, who knows?
Here's the thing. Like, we can still travel to other countries. We can still do this other stuff. We don't need a one world government to giving us permission. If you go just 100 years ago, passports didn't exist. Okay.
Yeah.
Just go back 120 years ago. 120 years ago, the average person, they could travel whatever country they want. Nobody's stopping them. Like, nobody's really asking them questions. They can go, like, we can do that. It's perfectly acceptable. Like, I remember when the UK was doing its Brexit, and a lot of Europeans were like, "Oh, it's so sad. I'm never going to be able to go to Britain again." Like, what? Like, if the governments just agree, like, look, yeah, we'll let people from your country in, then it happens. Or they just stay out of people's business and we have more of an open borders kind of thing. I don't think that's the solution, but Like there's a lot of
Yeah.
solutions without a one world government. In fact, I think a one world government
Yeah.
would be a lot more restrictive. Because I think
Yeah.
what they would do is they would want you to
Probably.
stay in your 15-minute city, where you're not allowed to leave your city, and because of carbon reasons,
Plus,
all
I
this
feel
kind
like
of
they'd
garbage.
keep track of us. They'd keep track of us more. There'd be more like face recognition. Where, like, so when I went to Belize recently, I went on a cruise, and when I came back into the country, they didn't even ask for my passport. They had a fucking computer that just scanned my fucking face, and they knew who I was. And I was like,
Yeah.
this is crazy. Like, it was kind of scary. I'm like, wow. So they just know. Like, they just look at my face and they can pull up like who the fuck I am, all my information, like just using a camera, like,
Yeah.
which is
I would
kinda-
encourage people, by the way,
kinda
and
scary.
next time you do international travel, test this. Like before you step in front of the camera, ask the guy, say, "Hey, is this optional?" You might be surprised. A lot of these are optional. Now, I'm not saying they don't already
Okay.
have your information, but maybe you're
Yeah.
not, you're not encouraging the system. And I've had this where I get onto a plane. I was going onto a plane one time, and they said, "Hey, we're going to do facial recognition to, go in instead of scanning your ticket." I was like, "What the hell?" Everybody stood in front of that camera. Guess what? It was my turn. I asked the person, I was like, "Hey, is this optional?" He said, "Hey, come over to the side for a second." I move over to the side. Within 1 second, he's like, "All right, go ahead." It was optional. It was entirely optional.
Yeah, they're like we don't need your ID anymore. Just scan the mark of the beast.
No, exactly. Like,
just go and scan your hand, please, and yeah,
no,
you get all
exactly.
the
Like,
snacks and
I expect Christians who have read Revelations, read the mark of the beast. I expect them to be using cash exclusively. I expect them to be pushing back against all this stuff. Right? I call out Christians to be standing out against all this on the front lines. 100%.
I think if people understood it, they would. I think a lot of people just don't understand. They don't have time to understand it. They're working like 40 hours to feed themselves, and like a lot of people don't have the free time. I imagine you have free time to use your podcast or two. I'm just assuming. I don't know you yet, but I feel like you probably have a lot of free time to be intelligent. Like I think it takes that. Like you're not just. Some people have better.
It does. Well, it's because they're stuck in the matrix. It's like they're trapped in a societal matrix that, like, it's a trap. Like, it's a prison of our own. It's like an invisible prison that keeps people thinking that they're not good enough to branch off and do their own thing, that they have to have a 5 to 9, that's the only way they can make money, that they have to break their back for pennies on the dime, and like never get time to spend time with their family or go on vacation. And then it's like, once you're stuck in that, like, how do you really make time to break out of it? It's hard. It's really hard, I think.
Well, that's interesting, because if you ask them, like, why do you have a job? Like, what do you mean? Well, I have to pay rent. It's like, well, what if you didn't have rent? What if you didn't have an apartment? What if you lived out of your car? Like, and then you kind of go down the line. They're like, most people are buying stuff as a Fight Club, right? We're buying stuff we don't need. Basically, like we're working to buy stuff so that we can survive, entertain ourselves, to work another day. It's kind of a destructive cycle. And for a lot of people, if you just wiped out your rent, you went and lived in a van for a few months, you wouldn't have to pay rent. Surprise, surprise, you could save some money. There's an interesting guy, I interviewed him on my show. He had a book, and he basically talks about, I decided to be homeless. And it was amazing. And he has all these hacks for it, and he totally escaped the rat race. He just said one day he was doing this corporate job. I'm done. And he wrote a book on it. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Let me think about it.
Yeah, you could probably get a big van. I've seen the people that like basically make a studio out of like a big like RV, and then they have solar panels on top, and they go to different like truck stops to shower or to get water or whatever, and like they don't really pay any bills other than maybe gas. But even then, like, you could park it somewhere. You don't even necessarily have to drive it anywhere. There's definitely ways of getting out of it, for sure.
That's literally what I do. I mean, I do.
Right.
I turned a school bus into a house. Basically, I lost like maybe a slight space for my studio apartment, like very slight space, and like I haven't paid rent in like years at this point. Well, I have a property now that I rent out, I guess, but I haven't paid rent for me to be in that situation, and it gives you a head start. I think like Gabriel was saying, is like if you're not spending your $200K or whatever a month, like that's money you could save and maneuver and like and invest and like free yourself. And it's like you can either not play the financial game at all and be homeless and but maybe get dollar slices of pizza from panhandling or something like that, or you have to free yourself from being so wealthy that and having no bills. There's like two ways really to free yourself: by not playing it at all, or just playing it really well, to where like you sacrifice a couple years of like. I mean, I don't even see the sacrifice. People try to make fun of me for living in a bus all the time, but I look at it like a very smart financial decision, because I spend like
people make
$4,000.
wait, really? People make fun of you?
Recently, yeah, it was only after I acquired a house, though, which is weird to me. Like when I first had a bus, everyone's like, "Oh, that's really cool and trendy," whatever the fuck terminology. But then like now, like in the last couple like months, people have made fun of me for it. But I think like I prefer it actually. Like I prefer it personally. But I'm just saying like without that bill for 3 years, that allowed me to set up and like all these different things. And, like I mean, even this office is vanity. Really, I don't even need this office. Like I just do it because I didn't want to carry my stuff back and forth. Is really why I did that. Like I didn't want to carry a laptop and mics and all this mobile studio shit I had forever. And I did it out of my bus for a while. But I mean, if everyone did that, it'd probably be like really fucked up, because like everybody'd be parked random spots. But the fact that
Walmart's going to be full.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, like, or Cracker Barrel, or wherever the fuck. I mean, everyone's going to be in the parking lot. But it's a way out for a few people at first, I guess. And like, if you could get your bills down, I mean, even living at home longer. Like I did that through my like 20s. Like people just make fun of you for it, but I'm like, until you have a second source of income, to me, it's stupid to even. I don't know. You got to free yourself first, in my opinion.
One of the other rabbit holes I also went down was like the early retirement stuff and all this kind of stuff. And basically what they're saying is you can survive on a lot less money than you like. You don't need this big house. You don't need this big car. You don't need all these loans and all the rest. And if you do that, you can have a crazy, radical, different life. I shared this book, by the way, in the chat there. It's called Rough Living. It's called Rough Living, Tips and Tales of a Vagabond. This is amazing. Like he starts the book off talking about how he's like, I lived like a prince today. You know, I'm in a tropical area. I went for breakfast. I had an apple pie and coffee, and then I went to one of my multiple libraries to study Japanese. And he goes to this intro, and he's like, "Oh, and by the way, I'm homeless." And he's like, "Here's what I did. You know, I found a coupon in the trash for an apple pie at Burger King, and you know, of course, I went to Hawaii because that's where you want to be if you're homeless." And then he kind of goes through all these things. It's like, oh, interesting. Like it's just interesting to see a different way of doing it. Because the 9-to-5 rat race is definitely soul sucking.
Yeah, I figured you were out of that. Oh, sorry, Nikki. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say it sounds like the story of Buddha, because that's kind of Buddha had a bunch of money. He was like a prince. He was like royalty, and he was like spiritually unfulfilled. And he's like, I have everything, and I'm still not happy. Like, what is happening here? And like, he decided to just be homeless and like basically live a minimalist life, and he grew spiritually from that. And that's a lot of where his teachings come from, is like letting go of all the material bullshit, because it's like, we're not going to take this into the next life, and that's not really what this whole life is even about, is like making money or like collecting shit you're never going to use. You know, it's so much deeper than that.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stories to just get you out of that mindset. There's a good quotation. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus, he says, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." And that's so true. And obviously Christianity talks about that a lot, right? What does Jesus say? You know, give up everything, just come follow me. You don't need anything else, right? So yeah, there's a lot of ways to get out of the materialism. And Fight Club, just go watch the first 30 minutes. That movie is hilarious. The first 30 minutes.
Love Fight Club.
Yeah. Classic.
I watched that the other day. I got a DVD player. Like I bought it on DVD for like $30 somewhere. It's like a rare thing. Finally, I watched that the other day. I will absolutely love that.
It's funny how some of these older things, like you go back and try to buy an old video game, it's like $120. What? Like I remember paying $5 for that. Yeah, it's funny.
Dude, every other DVD I bought's been like $1 except for like SLC Punk and Fight Club. I
love SLC Punk. Oh man,
yeah, I had to have those. Those are more rare, I guess. People didn't save them, or they sell them, I guess. You know,
in high school, SLC Punk was one of my favorite movies. That was like the movie that turned me on to anarchism and being an anarchist. Really, truly, like believing in anarchy to an extent. You know, like being against going against the grain, being against the social norm, questioning everything, questioning the government. Like, and it's funny because in that film, you know, it's like his dad's a lawyer and he wants him to be a lawyer, and he's just like, he's like.
I can't imagine being a lawyer. I mean, that's got to be just, man. Like you have to believe in the rules. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Law seems crazy. My buddy's a lawyer. He talked me out of that because I was looking for like some kind of job to maximize money and stuff. And he's like, well, do you want to work like 60 hours a week and not get paid for it? Basically, I'm like, no. He's like, you don't want to be a lawyer. Then I'm like, all right. Like he's like does defense. I think he's a defense attorney out here in St. Louis.
That's crazy.
But no, it seems crazy. Yeah, no. We're over an hour. If you guys want to throw anything out here, something we don't have to. Whatever. Like, if you guys have anything important. We got a lot of people watching. We can continue too. I'm open to whatever everyone's saying.
I'm happy to keep talking. Like, yeah, I got time here. And let me just throw out a few things here. If people are still listening, like practical things, like what are the things I should be doing for privacy? I would say number one, get off of SMS and regular traditional phone calling, and download something like Signal. Okay, that's an encrypted messaging app. Your other people have to download it too. Okay, but you can coerce them into doing that. And you basically, you basically get all of your communications onto there. Amazing. Done. Now you don't have your SMS messages and legacy phone calls being potentially listened to by, the companies and Chinese hackers and all that. That's an easy thing. I would say get a VPN, use a VPN at all times. Yeah. You'll run into some frustrations using it, but definitely do that. I would say get into more free and open source software. Okay. So I'm running a Linux operating system. It's not spying on me like Windows. Okay. This is free to use. It works similar to Windows. You won't notice that much of a difference. A lot of the other software I use is also free and open source software, which means we can see what's going on behind the scenes. And it's free as in you can, it doesn't cost anything usually. And also free as in you can do what you want with it. So anyway, it's a whole thing, free and open source software. But the point being that it's not typically sending anything back to the mothership. Okay, so I can use my password manager. I can use my video editor. I'm looking at my desktop right now. I can use my audio editor. I can use, my browser and all this kind of stuff that is not reporting back to headquarters. So get into free and open source software. You can start using a password manager. I think that everybody should be using a password manager, having long random passwords on all your accounts. Now we're getting into cybersecurity, but still very useful. Have two-factor authentication on every single account. Two-factor authentication on every single account. Your Fidelity account, your bank accounts, if they allow it, every single account. Let's see, what else? Note-taking. If you want to do some note-taking, get into something called Standard Notes. This thing is an excellent piece of end-to-end encrypted software. So basically only you can see it, okay, which is what we want. Standard Notes is a handy little tool there. So anyway, that might be something for people to get started with. And like I wrote a book on the topic. I have a podcast with 200 episodes on the topic. We sell courses. So like there's a whole lot more that could be said, but that'll certainly get people, it's a good place to start for sure.
And whatever you're watching this on or listening to this on, there's a link in the description to Gabriel's book too, Watchmen. What was the exact title, brother?
The Watchmen Guides to Privacy.
Perfect. That's in the description if you guys want to get that on Amazon and and further look into your own privacy and stuff like that and learn and however it's useful to you. Everybody's got their own thing. And I think Gabriel brought up something really important too. I think and I don't want to he didn't say exactly this, but I'm saying I think that I think most women probably have to deal with stalkers more so than most people have to deal with. It seems like I made a post on Facebook talking about this, how you should just unblock everybody, and all the girls are like, all the girls are, no, they stalk me. I have stalkers. Every girl is just saying they have stalkers. So apparently we're creepy as a gender. we're creepy, and girls will just block a bunch of people. So it's definitely that's a huge concern for I believe women, especially people like Nikki's former field, any kind of OnlyFans thing or any kind of I think if you have guys as a fan base, I'm sure that you probably need to read this book that's in the description, especially. And then even if you don't, I think that it's just interesting seeing what you need to apply to what you're doing. I think there's a lot of privacy concerns with the internet, especially with every square inch of this planet being videotaped all the time. So it's very important and
there's a lot of even just my sister, just thinking about the people me too, but my sister's dated a couple people that she's had to get some restraining orders against. She just ended things with some guy who will not stop calling her from every fucking different number. She feels like she has to change her phone number. He's like, can we get back together? She's like, dude, the fact you're blowing me up and calling me and I have to block you, no, you're making me now to see you even more. We're done. And this is it's been months and he's still blowing her up, telling her he wants to put a baby in her. He wants to get her pregnant, have a kid. And she's like, dude, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
Like, she
I
had
don't see
another
how that-
boyfriend who like attacked her and shit. I mean, people are.
I would
fucking
would
crazy.
suggest, but there's some cool tools here. Let's get into some more cool
Yeah.
tools. We have something called MySudo. Okay, go to your app store, check this out. You pay for it, but you can get up to 9 legitimate phone numbers in one app. You can choose who you want to give the phone number to. You can easily block people.
What's
you
that
can
called?
Easily, it's called MySudo.
Is that a free app?
My pseudo.
I think it's free for like a one phone number, but you'll want to pay for it to get the full amount. You can have 9 legitimate phone numbers.
So
and
then you
there's
could give someone not your real number, essentially.
yeah, I never give
For the
people.
show.
On that.
First of all, I don't even know my real number. I've never given it out. Even if I had a phone number, but that's a different story. So it's a very useful tool. Like everybody should have MySudo. They should be very careful. Like you give your phone, sure, you're going to Craigslist. Okay, you're doing a Craigslist deal. Obviously, you don't want to give that person your real phone. I remember years ago, I was on like a Craigslist kick. I was selling a lot of stuff, and I wouldn't type in Craigslist.org or whatever it is. I would like search on Google and then go to the website from there. And it was hilarious. Like for a couple months nonstop, whenever I searched for Craigslist, it would give me the latest news. And it was the most like bizarre things, like man gets killed doing a Craigslist deal. And like I remember one story was like pregnant woman gets her fetus removed from her body doing a Craigslist deal. And it was like these absurd things. I know. I was like, what the hell? It was just absurd stuff. But like the point being, like you're talking to a stranger, you're doing a weird thing. You want to be careful about who you're giving your phone number to. Right? I remember I was like, what? It became comical. I started screenshotting stuff because I'm not sure how I was seeing this stuff. By the way, interesting story about stalking. Let me read you this story from BBC. It says, a Japanese man accused of stalking and sexually assaulting a young pop star told police he located her through the reflection in her eyes in a picture.
Holy shit!
Whoa!
The man said he had identified a train station reflected in the singer's eyes in a selfie she posted online. So these people are really sophisticated. And if you're a woman, deal with a lot of women who are escaping former lovers and such.
Yeah.
You want to take it seriously. And a big thing is you really don't want to have photos online because me and my open source intelligence gathering buddies, we will find stuff about you. Okay, we'll see the direction that the sunlight is. We'll be able to tell your time zone. We're going to find stuff about you. Okay, so you really just want to limit that stuff as much as you can. No images. Don't be posting your, where you live, all this kind of stuff, because we will find you. Not me, because I'm a good guy, but other people.
We will find you. Is that a threat, bro?
Well, it's like it's funny that people use like information as like they use information as threats. So like. Usually, when I was like younger, I used to just make fun of people on the internet all the time, like when you were able to still, and like they like name what high school you go to. They're like, you went to this high school. I'm like, I know, I put it on my profile. It means it's like, or like you did this. I'm like, I know. You think I don't know where I live? Like they try to threaten me with my address all the time. They're like, this is your address. I'm like, okay, well come here. It's like, all right, well, it's like,
find me then.
It's just like it's always like a weird. No, it's a weird flex with information. It really is. Like, I remember when you just like make fun of somebody. Like I don't know. It's a weird thing.
But like this, are you? I don't know if you guys are familiar. I mean, I wasn't with this lady Amaranth, who's like an OnlyFans personality. She had her house raided. So basically, people found out where she lived, and they came to her house and they threatened her. They were trying to get Bitcoin or something. This has been in the news.
These OnlyFans models like, no, I guarantee what happens. OnlyFans models like, I make $16 million a year, motherfuckers, and then they're like, okay, cool, where's that?
Well, I'll tell you something more disturbing. Okay, so if you're using a crypto exchange, which are very insecure, okay, you're basically giving your real name, your real home address. This stuff gets leaked. Okay, and so people know that you have crypto. They know that if they take your crypto, that can't be reversed. That's how cryptocurrency works. So there was a gang of people. I did an episode on this. They went around the U.S. They got access to these data breaches, so they had a sense of what these people had and where they were. And so they went to these houses and they tortured people in the U.S. You can look this up. And there was one woman. They had stolen money from her digitally before they visited her. They pointed a gun at her head, and she said, "Just kill me. I have nothing to live for because you've taken everything." So there's some real world consequences of revealing where you live. I don't think under any circumstances you should ever give out the address where you go to sleep at night. That's my bottom line, and I think that's realistic. You can use PO boxes, okay? You can use UPS stores.
Yeah.
You can use Amazon lockers, right? You can use these virtual addresses for your banks and such, so that you don't have to give the real place where you go to sleep at night. And the South Dakota thing is a way of getting a legitimate address. So yeah, just don't give it. Like my rule is the place where I go to sleep at night never leaves my lips, never leaves my fingers on the keyboard, never, for no reason.
Yeah.
So what do I do? What address do I use? Well, I figure it out as I go along, but that's the rule.
Figure it out as you go along. I like that. Fucking yeah. I mean, wow, that's crazy.
I got all kinds of stories that I track about people who have their houses raided or tracked down or doxxed. Like there was one guy who was having a dispute with a guy on some online video game. He traveled from New Jersey to Florida and he beat the guy with a hammer.
Holy shit. That's crazy.
People are stupid.
Wow.
But look, you think, that's crazy. Why, that would never. Well, first of all, we have psychopaths, and also, like, people have no lives these days. If you're upset with somebody on Fortnite and that's your life, well, what are you going to do when they disrespect you? You might go beat the shit out of them.
Better show up to their fucking house, damn it.
Dude,
Fuck.
Dude, I would like make fun of people and they'd screenshot it and tell everybody they got made fun of. That's like how soft this generation is. Like I remember like seeing it. I'd like make fun of somebody and they screenshot and like that's like the punishment is like marketing. It's like so crazy. But you're right though. But I mean, Gabriel's right though. There are for every like coward, there's probably like there's like every 14,000 cowards, there's probably like one crazy person that'll just fuck you up.
It's gonna show up to school with a gun and kill all of his classmates type person. Yeah,
right.
Sure.
There's a lot of people out there who have nothing to lose. Speaking of nothing to lose, my colleague and I were interested in cults, and there was an interesting story of a Japanese cult. It's called Aum Shinrikyo. Okay, Aum Shinrikyo. This was a Japanese
cult. Did they do the
cult.
Documentary about it?
There must have been, yeah. I'm sure there's been documented. There's been books written about it. It was a big deal. Basically, they were manufacturing poison in Tokyo. Like it was a cult, and they wanted to kill everybody. Okay, and they were manufacturing poison. They released it into the subway system in Japan. They killed people. When they were raided, okay, they had so many guns, so many vats of poison that they literally couldn't get rid of it in time. Okay, and their goal, Aum Shinrikyo, you can look this up. It's a whole thing. Wow. Their goal was to they were also manufacturing, I think, LSD, or they got their hands on it. Their goal was to basically get the entirety of Tokyo high on LSD. They had smuggled in a helicopter from Russia, piece by piece, and reassembled it. And their main guy was going to go in a helicopter while Tokyo was tripping.
And douse everyone on
and basically arrive as the Messiah or something. These people were so ruthless that they killed. Like the Yakuza was like, hey, you're encroaching on our territory. They killed them. Like they killed them and they sent their body parts. And the Yakuza was like, yeah, we're not dealing with these guys. These guys are for real. They sent people, by the way, to Africa under a humanitarian mission. And their goal was to get their hands on the Ebola virus because they had a plan to infect people with it. So these people were serious. Like you think that people are normal? Like, no, people are not normal.
Not for a second.
People are not normal.
I worry more about like feds and stuff, like or whatever organization, like for like having some guest that I disagree with or whatever. Because like I worry more about that because I feel like I don't know if I want to say this like on YouTube, but one of the guests I had was I'll say it vague. But one of the guests I had was arrested for like some stuff that happened like 4 years ago. That's a very obvious thing. I just don't want to mention it. But like in January, like 4 years ago or whatever. So he was in prison for like that entire time. And they took down that interview I had with him too. Like they just deleted it from YouTube. So it's like it was
really?
It was like a really weird it was a really weird thing. Like in like certain things I'm just I mean I just feel weird talking about it.
Yeah. I mean, like we do talk about some pretty controversial shit, and we've had some people on here that are definitely targeted by the government for sure. And it does make me a little nervous, but at the same time, I feel like we're not as much of a threat for them to really come after us.
Yeah, give a voice. And give a voice to everybody regardless of punishment, really, Like it's America.
There's so many other things doing more crazy shit that's making.
Yeah, I think you're safe.
The most they can do is take a video down. Like
you might get audited a couple of years in a row, but
they're coming for us.
Yeah, but who knows? It looks like the IRS is collapsing. Thank God. I mean, I hope.
Oh, I know.
I hope the IRS collapses.
Really?
I hope it does too, brother. I hope it does too.
Wow, that's wild. I didn't know that it was collapsing.
Shout out to Rumbles. We're on the front page of Rumble right now too. I just realized someone.
Oh shit! Hell yeah.
Shout out Rumble under entertainment and
Fuck
politics.
yeah.
Well, you know, Rumble's.
See, I fucking love Rumble.
Let's show Rumble. Rumble's a great website. I upload my
Rumble's the
stuff on
best.
Rumble.
Yeah.
Where can people find your stuff on Rumble? Sorry, I didn't interrupt. Where can people find your
you
stuff?
can search for Watchman Privacy. So Watchman Privacy on Rumble. And, you know, why do we like Rumble? Well, they don't censor people, right? You can talk about what you want to talk. I had a guest who was talking about COVID. And like YouTube deleted. They're like, no, you can't talk about that. Deleted. And they made me go through this really moralizing and lecturing thing. Like, oh, you know, if this person gives this medical advice, and I had to answer all these questions. Like, I don't have to do that on other platforms. Right. There's actual belief in free speech. So Rumble's the best YouTube alternative. And that's why people are here.
I agree.
Because they'll feature the show and they'll feature other people that are up and coming, stuff like that too. And then if they don't like something, they're not going to delete it. Like when we covered the AVNs, they're like I'm not going to put it on the front page, but you can put it wherever you want. Like it's like he goes, you can be on Rumble, you can be on Rumble, but we're not going to feature it. But it's just like I don't know. They're very but YouTube just deletes my stuff and doesn't even tell me why. Like Facebook does the same thing.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Like Rumble's the best to their people, man. If you reach out, they'll at least answer you. Same with a lot of these new and upcoming like streams. Like I think Kick.
At least they feature us at all. YouTube's never featured us on anything ever.
I know. And we have people watching on YouTube too. We got like hundreds of people watching on YouTube still. And so I'm so grateful for that. But I mean, I definitely hate the limitations of speech. Sorry, Gabriel, what were you saying, brother?
No. So just speaking to the new audience here. Why do you care about privacy? Let me tell you. There's an interesting book. It's called The Murderer Next Door. Okay, by David Buss. This is what he says. He says, according to our findings, 91% of men and 84% of women have had at least one vivid fantasy about killing someone.
Holy shit.
Whoa.
So I think the important thing to realize is people are not normal. Right? We go to school. Right? We go to school. We see all these people doing these normal things. We don't realize that they have almost all of them have abusive parents, and they're all messed up, and they have psychological problems, and they got all these. And 1% of them is a psychopath. Let me tell you about psychopaths real quick. So psychopaths are people who, for reasons of different brain chemistry, are unable to experience empathy. Okay. They cannot understand what other people are going through. So other people don't really exist for them. Right. They've interviewed serial killers who were sociopaths or psychopaths. It's kind of the same thing. They the sociopath, he didn't even know that he had killed 10 people. Like he added it up as he went along. And the interviewer said, well, don't you know that you killed 10 people? And he's like, oh, I never thought about it. Right. Other human beings do not exist. And there's some interesting studies on psychopaths where they have wired people up. Okay. They're seeing their, their anxiety levels. And what they tell them is, hey, you're going to get an electrical shock in a few seconds. So normal people, right, they're building up their tension like, I'm going to get shocked. This is going to suck. So their anxiety builds up. Psychopaths completely flatline. Okay. These people have a different brain. They're a different brain. It's a different species. Psychopaths are 1% of the population. They commit 50% of serious crimes. Okay. 1% of the population.
That's a crazy number. Holy shit.
Yeah. Other cultures have had, other cultures have various names for these. Like the Eskimos have a name from, Nigerians have a special name. And it's the same in all cultures, right? People who do not get along, who are trying to exploit others, who are unable to follow any ethical code, right? If you're a psychopath and you cannot empathize with other people, you cannot follow the golden rule. You cannot follow the anarchist non-aggression principle. You cannot even conceive of other human beings. So what do? Well, you exploit them and you get into positions of power and you're celebrated, right? Because, hey, we drop bombs on these people. You're celebrated. Like you made the tough decision. You made the tough decision. Or you're at the top of a corporation and you pay off various findings so that we found that your breakfast cereal is heart healthy, right? It doesn't cause cancer. Your red food diet does not cause cancer, right? And you paid it off, right? So psychopaths are absolutely ruthless. They have scarred the world, right? Stalin was probably a psychopath.
For sure.
Pol Pot. They've literally altered the world. This 1% of the population has literally altered the world. I've done a couple of good episodes on psychopaths. One called "Psychopaths in the World Order." And psychopaths and
they're
privacy.
Probably reptilians. I feel like that they were either reptilians in a past life or they're reptilians now. And from what I've learned about reptilians is they're an ET species that were actually dumped into our universe from another universe because they were kicked out essentially because they just jumped from planet to planet, raping and pillaging and stealing all of the resources till the planet was basically dead. and then they would go to the next plane. And they never really thought twice about it, or that they didn't really even recognize that what they were doing was wrong. It was more of like acting on instinct, almost like they're more animalistic than like human.
Right.
You know?
Right. They don't have a moral code, right? They have no reason
Right.
to do something for the benefit of somebody else. And that's what morals is, right?
Right.
We don't do things because we imagine that being done to us. That's the foundation
Right.
of civilization. And psychopaths literally do not have that in their brain. So you're right. They do have reptilian brains. Like, even if you didn't want to go as far as you suggested, you don't have to. Like, they
Yeah.
have different brain chemistry. And here's an interesting thing,
totally.
because when you realize that it might be this little thing, this little composition of things in our brain that give us a moral compass. Well, what happens then if like aliens come to visit? Are they going to have those same chemicals? Maybe not.
Yeah.
Probably not. Right. That's a weird arrangement.
I would say that it depends on the alien race. I think that there's different levels of if we're thinking about the span of time of existence. I would imagine that some of the more ancient alien races are so evolved that they might even be more sensitive and empathic than we are, or can tap in and like feel things more intensely. But on the other side of that coin, it could also be like reptilian or dragon or I think it really depends on what kind of alien, because there's so many. I believe there's so many different races that it's hard to kind of say, oh, they're all the same. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. Let me change it then and say, let's talk about AI, right? Because the way that AI processes things is it doesn't have these chemicals, right? And I would argue it doesn't have the ability to imagine other people. It doesn't have the ability to be moral. And so what happens when AI is making a decision, if it were in a position where it's making decisions? Well, what is the famous line from the Terminator when he finally explains to Sarah Connor like what happened with Skynet? He says that when it finally became conscious, right, it detected, it determined its purpose, right? Humans were to be exterminated, and it made this decision in a microsecond. So this is the technocratic way of thinking. And this is kind of how the psychopaths in power think, right? They think, how can I expand my power? How can I control others? And that's all they care about. And they use things like the greatest good for the greatest number and other things like this. Basically, they don't care about individuals. And what's interesting about this is there's a thought experiment. It's called Rocco's Basilisk. Rocco's Basilisk. And it's just this guy in a forum one day who's thinking about how AI will evolve. And he has this idea. He says, let's imagine there's this really primitive AI, and it has this idea that it wants to save the world. Okay, it wants to save the world. It has an idea of what is good, okay, in the world, and it wants to achieve that. How would it come into existence? How would it come into existence so it's all powerful? Well, it needs humans to build it. Okay. And so what would it do? It would do anything to make that happen. It would torture people. It would do whatever, right? There's an episode of Black Mirror. I remember where they make a digital replication of a guy's mind, and then they simulate torture for 1,000 years in order to get information out of him. Right. So, and in Rocco's Basilisk, basically, the AI would torture people. It would do whatever, right? It would find ways to convince people to make it happen, to come into existence, because it wants good things, right? It wants to solve the world's problems. It wants to create a good world according to what it thinks is a good world. Individuals along the way, no problem, right? This is the greatest good for the greatest number. Individuals can be squashed along the way. So that's the technocratic thinking. That's the psychopathic thinking. And that's, I think, how AI would evolve if it did become conscious, which I don't necessarily.
I mean, it's kind of like what the Jews are doing in Gaza right now.
There's a certain kind of thinking, certain kind of thinking that you can see
let's
all over the place.
Complete genocide for the greater good of humanity, which is like, okay, how does that math? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I get it. That's a whole other controversial conversation, but it's like taking it to that point where it's like, this is just becoming almost demonic, where we're killing children and women, and for what? Because you think that land is like it's your land or whatever, or God gave it to you, so God wants you to kill all. I mean, it just makes no sense.
Yeah. You can see this mentality throughout any kind of war efforts. The guy who made the call or was instrumental in making the call to bomb Tokyo with the fire raids that absolutely ravaged it. and of course the atomic bombs, which weren't even as destructive as the Tokyo fire bombings. You know,
I
these
did not
were
know that.
these were
That's
these
wild.
were definitely, you know, hey, greater good kind of stuff, right?
Right.
So
Right. Oof. It's dark. I mean, so then on some level, it almost kind of seems like AI is almost an extension of our own humanness in a sense, because like not only did we create it, but it reflects some of the attributes of someone that, I mean, we would consider possibly a psychopath or sociopath or even just narcissist. And I mean, narcissist is still, you know, they're more selfish than like just, you know, not I don't know, like emotionally tapped in, but they still lack empathy and you know, make decisions based on personal gain against, you know, the fact that they could be hurting other people. But
yeah, I think I would phrase it that psychopaths are, and I've seen prominent people talking about psychopathy say like these are not human, like these are literally not,
wow.
we cannot consider them human, right? Because they don't have any of the
Wow.
characteristics that we have. Sure, it's a face.
Right.
Sure, it's a human face.
Sure, it's a face.
Right, and certainly they act, but they can't feel the emotions. By the way, I looked up this Tokyo firebombing constitutes the single most destructive aerial bombing in human history. As an estimated 100,000 civilians dead and over 1 million homeless. That is the bombing of Tokyo.
1 million homeless.
There was some serious stuff that happened.
Crazy.
Well, that's an interesting question, right? And here's an interesting thing about the Japanese. They're pretty darn impressive.
Yeah.
When the US
really
when the US basically forced its way into the Tokyo Bay in the 1850s, there was a guy named Matthew Perry. He basically forced his steam engine. What the Japanese did was they looked at the steam engine, right? And they're like, what the heck is this? Because the Japanese in 1850 were basically, one historian says they were not that much dissimilar from ancient Egyptians at that point, right?
Oh, wow.
That's how they were. And so they looked at this, and what did they do? They responded by sending all of their most talented people into the world, go and study in Europe, and they brought back all that to the point where in around 1910, they actually became the first Asian country to win a war against a Western power. They beat Russia in 1910.
Wow.
And as we know, they ascended to where they are today, 1980s. The Tokyo stock market and the economy was just absolutely ridiculous. And they are it's probably the most stable society in the world today, Japan. Very impressive people.
I mean,
high
how
IQ,
resilient
great work ethic.
do you have to be to like come back from something like that? I mean, that's pretty impressive.
And I'll tell you what, I don't see any Japanese talking about, you know, we need reparations. Like these people were literally bombed out of they were almost bombed out of existence. Okay.
Well, they attacked it. They attacked us, though. I mean, what do you think is going to happen if some country attacks America? We're going to fucking frog stomp any fucking one of them, you know? I mean, all we are is weapons, you know?
But
like,
there are, like, war crimes. Like, there's levels, you know? It's like, yes. It's kind of like when you get in a fight with someone. It's like when you fight dirty. You know what I mean? It's like, okay,
there's a really good bit by George Carlin. George Carlin has a really good bit on war. He's like, you know what? We're good at war, right? And we're good at war because we get a lot of practice. He's like,
it's true,
you have some brown people in your country. You better watch the fuck out. We're gonna bomb your ass. It's a good one. Yeah, George Carlin has some good moments.
Big fan of Carlin.
Damn, that's crazy. Yeah, we've definitely.
How did we get talking about Tokyo bombing and George Carlin? I don't even know. But Gabriel, this is the most we've stayed on subject ever, probably. If over 30 minutes of the episode's on a topic, we're doing good somehow.
Really though,
because we get so many interesting people. You just vibe with people.
Turns into a rant.
There's so many sources of information and like charismatic people on the same stream. You're gonna have like whatever happen. But dude, I feel like I do need to get out of there. I feel like I need to go get some food and stuff. But you should jump back on at some point. Have another subject or something. It's like you're very articulate, very intelligent. Something like thank you very much for jumping on here. And everybody, you can read more about Gabriel in the description on everything you're watching it on. You can also buy his book. And if there's anything else you guys want to say, more or less, I just want to make sure people remember to get his book, check it out, and learn some stuff about privacy.
Yeah, follow him on everything. What's social media platforms do you have? Just Rumble or
Twitter? Go to Twitter or X, and it's Watchman Privacy. Yes, I'm on Rumble, YouTube, Podcast is Watchman Privacy. I think you'll be very interested to follow that show.
Definitely. People
Oh yeah,
should.
that's
It's
awesome.
good.
So
Cool. And then
hey, it
follow
was
my
a pleasure.
Insta.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nope.
This
Do your
and
promotion.
then X, Insta. I don't know. Whatever. Just Google my name. It'll come up. Who gives a shit? Whatever. I don't even care.
That's
You're
the spirit.
killing it at X. You blew up on X recently. You probably got like close to like 10,000 people on X recently. That was pretty crazy.
Me?
Yeah, I think you recently, right? You're almost at like 50K.
Yeah, I think because some scene that I did a while ago came out and everyone's just like, I don't fucking know.
Well, there you go.
I finally hit 10,000 on. I finally hit 10,000 on Instagram after like getting deleted millions of times and fucking having to start my shit all over. I realized the hack though. Make your account private, and then people don't report everything you fucking do. Who would have thought?
Until they're mad at you for
privacy. Who would have thought privacy would have helped? That part.
There you go.
Anyways,
lots of uses
thank you
for
so
privacy.
much.
My pleasure. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, pleasure to meet you. Thank you all
absolutely.
for jumping on. And we may do an impromptu podcast this week about the JFK files. It's like I'm reading a lot of stuff right now on here.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm so down.
We'll figure that off stream. But yeah, no, we should probably jump on that. If you have any information on the JFK files, contact us through our social media too. And like we're gonna see what's out there. I mean, obviously we we're not sure what's released, but I found some crazy stuff right now is going on. But I'm seeing some files and stuff. But we'll probably do an impromptu episode on that. But thank you all for watching. I mean, we're killing it cross platform right now. So I appreciate you all watching.
Follow the Anthony Rogers Show. Follow the Anthony Rogers Show on Instagram. Follow us on Rumble. Follow us on YouTube. Anyone that's watching, please follow us so you get notified when we go live again. And thanks for watching. And yeah, that's all I got.
Buy 10 of Gabriel's books and mail them to all your friends.
Yeah.
There we go.
Stack up on them. Well, thank you all
Best
for being
idea
on
of the night.
Thank you all for being on here. Thank you all for watching and spending a Tuesday night doing this. We'll be back. Obviously, we'll figure out something soon. We'll probably do a last minute stream this week about JFK Files. But thank you all. Hope you have a great night. I hope you enjoy yourself. I need to eat some dinner. I'm starving. I'll see you all later.
Go eat. See you later, guys.
Watching the Anthony Rogers Show.
You have to do that again. One more time.
She's drunk.
All right, go one more time.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
You're watching the Anthony Rogers Show.
Can you say it in a super deep voice, too?
Oh
no. Yeah, we could, but that's gonna be $500.
$500.
You're not gonna.
We don't want that to live
You're not gonna
online.
get that footage. That's gonna go viral.
That'll go viral.
That's gonna go viral.
Put that on my Instagram.
Hey, thanks for watching this video, and I want to say without companies like Luxurious Bastard Beard Oil, this video wouldn't be possible to make. So you can go and the links in the description. Luxurious Bastard, promo code Legendary, and get some beard oil. Great smells, great function, great look, great shine. Do that and support the sponsors so we can continue to make videos like this for you. Thank you.
You're listening to the best of the Anthony Rogers Show because, let's face it, who can't get enough of Buck Cherry and, porn stars, yeah.
I'm Savannah Storm, and you are watching the Anthony Rogers Show.
Hey, it's Hot Wife Shady Rose, and you're watching the Anthony Rogers Show.
My name is Alex Sulkin, writer of Ted and Family Guy, and you're listening to the Anthony Rogers Show. Lucky you.
Hey everybody, my name is Frankie MacDonald. You're listening to the Anthony Rogers Show.
I'm gonna make a trans sport league. Only trans can compete. Because they're basically superior, right? They're like better women. It's like you got rid of all the bad parts of women, like them being like dumb and annoying and talking too much. And then you just have it looks like a woman, but it I don't know, probably smokes weed and cigarettes and shit, Cusses a little bit, Could you imagine going to a doctor? I'd love to transition to what? The second best gender. Make me a woman, please. I hate having it easy. You know what I mean? And they're not really women. They're just facts, right? It's just being a fact. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just probably just a fact. I don't know. Am I losing the crowd here? Sorry.
Link in description. Promo code legendary. Use luxurious bastard beard oil every single day. Smells great. Looks great. Awesome scents. Check out the link in the description for luxurious bastards scents and all that different stuff they have on their website. Check it out.